Reflecting on 2021, truly marked the zenith of my young career. The pandemic was coming to an end. I was fresh from the hallowed halls of a prestigious but unheralded college, thrust into the corporate labyrinth where, as a mere sidekick to the big shots, I contributed to a deal of record-breaking magnitude. My modest corporate minion life was exaggerated into legend by my professors during an alumni reunion, leading to a rather embarrassing episode where I was paraded around as the poster child of their education career's success. My parents, not ones to shy away from a bit of pomp, lauded my achievements to anyone within earshot. But as 2022 unfurled its chaos with the epidemic, my professional life spiraled downwards as swiftly as it had risen. I was laid off, and replaced by a nepotistic hire, my boss's new mistress's nephew. During my dismal final days, my colleagues, once comrades, became corporate sharks, whispers of them scheming to claim my last efforts as their own filled the empty office spaces. Compelled by financial duress to abandon my central city dwelling, I relocated to the outskirts with two college mates, Jazz and Kath, who had similarly found themselves victims of the economic downturn. We settled into apartment 606, a unit with dubious charm, suspiciously affordable on the 13th floor of a dreary building, its corridor haunted by a flickering sensor light that was only designed to function on rare occasions. Yet, the apartment itself was surprisingly very well furnished, almost like something that jumped out from a design mag, outbeating sample rooms in IKEA, boasting a spacious balcony, a living room ready for an impromptu soiree, a dining table that's good enough to hold a banquet, became our co-working space, and a kitchen aisle that became our sanctuary and curse. When we first settled into our new abode, we discovered a trove of fine kitchen utensils, perfect for whipping up sophisticated cuisine and crafting cocktails worthy of a swanky soiree. Tucked away in the fridge, among the remnants of the previous tenant's life, was a quaint note: "The three of us really enjoyed our stay here, especially our meals and nights spent by the kitchen island. We hope you find as much joy in it as we did. Use it well." With a casual flick of my wrist, I dismissed the note into the garbage can, oblivious to the depth of its seemingly innocuous message. Little did I know, that piece of paper was more a passing of the torch than a simple goodbye. Our initial days in apartment 606 brimmed with camaraderie and impromptu celebrations, movie nights sprawled on the living room sofas, barbecue dinners under the stars on our balcony, and co-working sessions at the dining table, peppered with resume tweaks and contemplative conversations over cocktails. We even scored a second-hand karaoke machine, allowing me to channel my inner diva, a throwback to my musical theater days in college and my stint as the voice of corporate presentations and negotiations at my previous job, where I was known for my resonant yet finely tuned voice. Yet, as the months wore on and the job market remained unyielding, our early merriment slowly surrendered to a creeping anxiety. The kitchen island, once the heart of our home where laughter and shared meals flowed freely, gradually morphed into the epicenter of our collective unease, bearing silent witness to the quiet desperation settling over us. One evening, in the suspiciously affordable yet stylish apartment, I sank into the sofa, my spirits dampened by my favorite team's disheartening loss. The mood was grim, mirroring my fears of my beloved player's potential retirement at season's end. Later, as we congregated around the kitchen island for dinner, I transformed into an impromptu sports commentator, passionately preaching about the game's disappointing details that led to failure and my favorite player's fine qualities. Meanwhile, Jazz updated us on a friend's melodramatic breakup, with guesses that something ugly must have happened behind the scenes. Kath, ever the culinary enthusiast, not only served up her delicious pasta but also dished out the latest celebrity gossip, each tidbit as spicy as her sauce. The next day, during a late breakfast at the same kitchen island, our unwitting oracle, we were hit by a triple whammy of reality checks. The news of my favorite player's retirement broke, echoing my gloomy predictions from the night before. Jazz chimed in with an update that our friend had uncovered a cheating scandal worthy of its own reality TV special. And Kath, never one to be left out of the drama, her favorite celebrity was now the star of a scandal. By the third morning, as we sipped our coffee, the newspaper slapped me with another bizarre twist. I was going through the devastating economics and politics sections, then I saw the sports section featured an irate coach, hell-bent on convincing my favorite player to dismiss retirement plans and keep his jersey on a little longer. Meanwhile, Jazz had good news for a change. It turned out our friend's love story might have a second act after all, as misunderstandings were being cleared up. Amidst these revelations, Kath, who had been grumbling about the nearby supermarket's inability to stock anything remotely gourmet, and hadn't had a taste of her favorite Blue Mountain coffee since the beginning of that year, triumphantly found a can of Blue Mountain coffee, and it was on sale and therefore affordable, proof that miracles happen, and sometimes they even go on discount. As I sat there, absorbing the serendipity of our discussions manifesting into real-world events, I couldn't help but marvel at the mysterious knack of our kitchen island. Was it merely a coincidence, or had this stylish piece of decor become the unlikely conductor of our lives' symphony? One thing was certain: life in apartment 606 was never dull, and our kitchen island seemed to be more than just a place to eat. It was a place where, apparently, you could stir the pot of fate. I decided to conduct a whimsical experiment with our now seemingly magical kitchen island. Clearing my throat theatrically, I declared, I should be interviewed for a director position. To my sheer astonishment, the next day a headhunter rang me up, claiming I was the ideal candidate for a directorial role at a prestigious corporation in my field. Despite the other candidates possessing decades more experience, which defeated me with no effort, and my own lingering self-doubt from months of unemployment, I sailed to the final interview round with the company's executives. Upon returning to our apartment, I found Kath flaunting a chic dress from a designer brand she'd snagged on clearance, a little luxury courtesy of our wish-granting island. Inspired, I approached the island and cheekily requested, "Get us jobs. Something fun." Lo and behold, the following day was spent lounging and binge-watching Netflix, only to be interrupted by a call from a former bigwig at my old job. He was venturing into a more illustrious company and wanted me on board. The informal chat that followed was a breeze, and just like that, I was back in the game with a fancier title and a fatter paycheck. The subsequent week was a flurry of celebrations. Jazz secured a senior-level position, and Kath landed her dream job at an influencer management agency. Feeling triumphant, we decided to indulge in a night of fine dining, our first in months. That Friday evening, when I went from office to restaurant, on a whim, stopped at a convenience store to grab snacks and cigarettes for our post-dinner revelry. Outside, I encountered a homeless person. After offering him a sandwich, which he traded for a cigarette instead, he took a drag, peered into my eyes, and ominously muttered, "Look, young lady, this isn't my business, but be wary of what you wish for, everything comes with a price. Good luck and God bless you." His words barely registered until later that evening, when a mishap occurred that seemed to underline his warning. As we enjoyed siphoned coffee post-dinner, a barista accidentally tripped over Kath's flowing dress. The resulting spill left her with first-degree burns, abruptly ending our night as we rushed to the emergency room. Though it was just a first-degree burn, the pain was significant enough to require several days off for Kath's recovery. Amid the drama, I couldn't help but wonder about the cryptic caution from the man outside the store. Had our fortunate streak come with a hidden cost? We chalked up the coffee calamity to bad luck. The next month flowed smoothly, Kath's fingers healed, she returned to work, and I quickly found my groove at the new job. With all of us gainfully employed, our communal meals at the kitchen island became rare. My mornings were a whirlwind of grabbing breakfast and coffee on the go, followed by an hour's commute to a job that had me scarfing down instant noodles by nightfall, just in time for a quick shower. As the busy season kicked in, my workload ballooned, not just from the seasonal uptick, but because I was hell-bent on proving my mettle. I quickly outshone most of my peers, and my employer, recognizing a budding overachiever, piled on major tasks, which I eagerly accepted. What started as the occasional hour of overtime soon devoured my weekends. Unpaid overtime, as the fine print in my contract gleefully noted, became my new norm. Driven by a mix of ambition and expectation, I had become the go-to young hotshot, the erstwhile record breaker now expected to continually outdo myself. Mentally, I was too swamped to entertain thoughts of anything beyond work, which, in a twisted way, felt like a break. Physically, however, the strain began to show. A bout of flu caught on a business trip escalated into a fever. Sick as I was, deadlines waited for no one, and I soldiered on, medicated and miserable. By the time I made it home, my voice had abandoned me. Unable to utter a word the next morning, I resorted to emailing my manager about my sorry state. That week, robbed of my voice, I mused that it was perhaps a well-deserved hiatus for my overworked vocal cords, a silent retreat if you will. But when my voice did return, it was as a raspy whisper, a shadow of its former crisp and melodious timbre. My doctor offered a grim prognosis: slight improvement might come, but the golden tones were gone for good, scarred by the relentless grind. the price of ambition a scratchy throat as a permanent reminder of my corporate conquests. It seemed I had unwittingly exchanged the clarity of my voice for the tumult of career success. In the midst of our domestic enchantment with the possibly mystical kitchen island, Kath unearthed the contact of a reputed psychic, hailed as the finest in the land. However, the consultation fee was nothing short of princely, and with Jazz vehemently dismissing anything that couldn't be explained by cold, hard science, she promptly opted out of splitting the bill. Kath and I, unwilling to drain our wallets on what could be mere phantasmagoria, reluctantly let the opportunity pass. Meanwhile, I couldn't help but notice a curious change in Jazz's routine. She had ceased dining at the kitchen island, avoiding it as if it were cursed or perhaps, in her view, simply out of style. The Saturday morning brought a particularly harsh twist. A murder of crows took to spiraling above our balcony, their cries as sharp as the plot of a Poe novel. We found ourselves drawn to the infamous kitchen island, lined up like the cast of a macabre play, silently praying for the birds to disperse. Kath, ever trying to restore some semblance of normalcy, offered up cups of Blue Mountain coffee. She absent-mindedly inquired if I wanted cream or sugar in mine, a blunder that made me realize just how long it had been since our last coffee clutch at this very spot. My inner monologue couldn't resist a dark wish for the crows to scatter, perhaps too dark, for they began to dive bomb our balcony in a feathery kamikaze. The spectacle was enough to knock Jazz off her feet literally as her mug met its end on the floor. Kath, meanwhile, made a hasty retreat to worship the porcelain god, and I sat frozen, my brain offline, pondering the twisted power of our kitchen island's apparent wish-granting. After the unnerving spectacle of crows turning our balcony into a scene straight out of a Hitchcock film, our first rational step post-collective fainting, of course, was to summon cleaners to manage the feathery carnage. Then, still rattled but increasingly curious, we visited a psychic, who, contrary to the crystal ball gazer image, operated out of a posh boutique in a high-end mall and dressed more like she was headed to a fashion show than a seance. We laid bare our saga of the seemingly cursed kitchen island, complete with photographic evidence of where domestic bliss meets eerie phenomena. The psychic introduced a term that chilled the air around us: limbo, the threshold between our world and the otherworldly, and she dubbed our kitchen island the Devil's Bargain Counter. According to her, our wishes came with a heavy and unpredictable price, because we have accidentally started trades with beings from the netherworld. Her advice was disarmingly simple: cease all trades on the island. To address the repercussions of past wishes, she advised us the first line of defense, which was an eclectic mix of offerings laid out on our cursed countertop: raw meat, rooster works the best, a cocktail of spices, coca and cinnamon preferably, liberal splashes of spirits, whiskey and rum ideally, and an eerie bouquet of black flowers. Luckily I found some black roses at a flower shop of the mall. In a grander gesture of appeasement, Kath relinquished her shiny new diamond bracelet, Jazz her absurdly expensive headphones, and I parted with cash, a hefty slice of my bonus, in hopes of placating whatever capricious spirits we'd angered. Our return to normalcy was brief but sweet, prompting us to plan a getaway, eager to forget about our nefarious kitchen island. Yet, the respite was merely a tease. Jazz, in a stroke of spectacular misfortune, narrowly dodged disaster twice in one day, first nearly becoming subway track fodder on her way back after work, and then almost getting knocked out by a rogue plant at our apartment building's doorstep. Clearly, our previous offerings were mere appetizers to whatever forces we'd stirred. The psychic, summoned once again to our now dubious sanctuary, decreed that the spirits had developed rather expensive tastes, unsatisfied by our initial gestures. In a desperate bid for closure, we had the psychic over for a nighttime ritual, timed perfectly with Earth's closest approach to the netherworld, according to her. Our living room turned into a ritual chamber, with windows blacked out for days, to keep the otherworldly dealings strictly nocturnal. That night, we arranged ourselves around the island, now less a kitchen fixture and more an altar of last resort. The psychic, amidst a chorus of Latin incantations, directed us through a chilling séance that included a mirror that reflected nothing but darkness and a burning black candle. The three of us sat in a row, joined hands, eyes closed. When the black candle was flickering at its last, the first eerie scratches heard prompted our eyes to open prematurely. We saw a command appear on the island, written by invisible hand and pen, in blood-red script, urging us to find the next successor before our lease on otherworldly disturbances could be terminated. With bated breath, we agreed, and as if by magic, our signatures materialized on the countertop, then faded as the candle sputtered out. We tore off the black cardboard taped on the windows at dawn. The sunrise revealed a final message etched into the surface: debt cleared. As the daylight grew, the ominous inscription dissolved into nothingness, signaling the end of our spectral saga. The ordeal, now officially behind us, left us enjoying a semblance of normalcy. Life in 606 returned to its mundane rhythm, with dinners and movie nights back on our social calendar. Though not without its scars, literal and figurative. It's been 2 years since then. Jazz, in the throes of romantic bliss, is now gearing up for a new chapter waiting to be written alongside her soon-to-be spouse, Kath. Her career finally taking a lucrative turn, was poised to upgrade her living situation. She secured a lease on a lavish serviced apartment in the city center, a place that matched her newfound financial swagger. I'm not without my own leaps forward. With a modest boost from my parents, I took the plunge into homeownership, snagging a property within the city's vibrant confines. The process was a whirlwind of paperwork and decorating decisions, culminating in a space I could truly call my own. As we are packing up now, my last act is to type out our story, at the infamous island, and of course, I left a note in the fridge for the next tenants. Welcome to 606. We had a wonderful time here, especially at the kitchen island, filled with joy and unforgettable moments. We hope you find as much happiness as we did. Use the aisle well. Warm wishes, the previous tenants.